Welcome back, guys. It's Dr. Somji.
It's Dr. Solomon here.
Today we're going to be talking about a topic that actually everyone wants when they're having skin treatments. It's how to get glass skin.
Yeah, so glass skin popularized, I think, in Korea, in fact.
Yeah, it's a very like K-beauty type thing.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes it's misleading because there's a lot of filters on the celebrities that tend to have glass skin. But generally, it's an ideal. It's your skin at its optimum. So you can either achieve that naturally through skin cares and essentially treatments, or you can do it through makeup. And obviously, because this is a skincare channel, we're going to be talking about how we can achieve that with skincare. What exactly is glass skin?
So glass skin, as the name suggests, is skin that is luminous and reflects like glass. And to achieve that with skin, remember, skin is organic material, so you need the skin to be poreless, or at least reduced pores, even toned, and free of blemishes.
So like, what can skincare do? I reckon that you can reduce the appearance of pores. If you've got quite large pores genetically, I don't think that you can remove that with skincare or even any treatment, to be quite honest. You can achieve a more even toned look, and you can definitely reduce the amount of redness and acne involved as well.
Yeah, I think from our knowledge of biology and also from our experience in aesthetics, it's impossible to actually achieve perfectly glass-like skin. That's just, it is not humanly possible to do that. However, what we strive to achieve is as close to glass-like skin as we can, within the limitations of one's genetics, within the limitations of the products we use, and then within the limitations of external factors as well.
Absolutely. Like, so I mean, one of the things that we kind of like see when people are on kind of TikTok, YouTube, trying to achieve glass skin is essentially like scrubbing the skin. And I think they say, you know, this is a disclaimer, this is a warning. You know, you're not gonna rub away pores just by essentially scrubbing the skin, right?
Yeah, you cannot scrub away pores, you can't obliterate pores, but you can reduce them in size. And that's one step to on the path towards glass-like skin, because when you reduce the pore size, you create a more even texture.
Yeah.
But you also need to eliminate or at least reduce blemishes on the skin, physical blemishes on the skin, before you start addressing the tone of the skin. And when you achieve that smoothened texture and even tone, you then work on the hydration of the skin, and you get this luminosity of the skin that looks hydrated, that looks poreless, and suddenly you have glass-like skin.
So let's go through the skincare regime. As we go through, we'll talk about how you can achieve glass skin, even if you've got, say, pigmentation, maybe some acne, and I'll also recommend some high street products as well. You can recommend some products that you've seen in kind of medical clinics that may help as well too.
Yeah.
So what's the first step?
Okay, so I like to approach it from a sort of generic standpoint. I like to say, how do we start the process of achieving that? Most importantly, double cleanse the skin to start with. Double cleanse the skin, remove any makeup, remove any products on the skin.
So I guess with like double cleansing, if you're using high street products, so if you're using like ceramides and CeraVe, for instance, you'd want to double cleanse because it doesn't always take everything off, especially creamier washes. So a foaming cleanser, so CeraVe foaming cleanser for the beginning, and then one more hydrating cleanser afterwards as well. There are some medical grade products that you recommend. So for example, like IS Clinical Cleansing Complex, you recommend. That's really quite like kind of drying and stripping, but it's really good for getting all of the impurities of the skin as well as the dead skin layer. It's got a mixture of salicylic, lactic and glycolic acid, which is fantastic for the skin. So, you know, double cleansing is always there. A toner, you know, if you've got a good cleanser, like IS Clinical Cleanser, or even an Illumia Purifying Gel Cleanser is fantastic as a medical grade one, then that will tone at the same time. But if you're using high street stuff, then you may need to tone as well. So what does toners really do?
So toners are an add-on to the cleansing, and they will complement the cleansing by balancing the pH of the skin and removing more impurities and removing some products at the more sort of cellular level.
So it's at this point now that you'd move on to the next step.
Okay, so the next step would be exfoliation of the skin.
So exfoliation is dependent on your skin concern. So there are a number of things that you can do. You can use like a glycolic night serum, so for example from the Drunk Elephant, is quite nice. If you've got, you know, kind of skin that maybe has a little bit of pigmentation, a little bit of acne, that's a good all-round one to use. You've also got kind of like peeling solutions from The Ordinary and the Inky List that you can use. For people with red skin, so rosacea, mandelic acid is a fantastic treatment. For people with acne, using things like salicylic acid as well as lactic acid is also a good option as well. So it's at this point that you'd really do a chemical exfoliation as opposed to a physical exfoliation. You don't want to be seen to be using things that are like brushes, all of these skincare devices which damage the surface of the skin and also damage that barrier, because you've really kind of aggressively cleansed and toned by now, and then you're going to do a chemical exfoliation. You don't need a physical exfoliation over the top of it.
Okay.
So what now, if you've got, now the skin's primed for ingredients, so what's the next step?
So the next step, you've essentially removed all the products on the skin, you removed any dead skin layer, and you've exfoliated both physically, you've exfoliated chemically, and now it's time to hydrate the skin.
Wonderful.
So tell us about some hydration.
So we tend to call them humectants, so things that attract water. One of the most common ones that we know is hyaluronic acid. So like for example, look, this is a good one from The Ordinary, which I always is one of my favorites because of the price point and what's involved. Is the natural moisturizing factors HA, and you can feel it actually over here. It's fantastic for moisture. So once you've cleansed and cleansed, this is going to hydrate the area, which is fantastic.
So you talk about humectant, hyaluronic acid being a humectant, that it absorbs water. What about emollients? What do emollients do?
So you want to put a humectant on first because that draws in moisture, but emollients actually provide the moisture and also stop evaporation of water as well.
So as a barrier.
As a barrier on top. So even if you look at the Inky List over here, you've got hyaluronic acid over here, but also you've got things that are almost like emollients. So like glycerin is fantastic as an emollient. You've also got like caprylic triglycerides as well, so fatty acids that are sitting over the top. So this is great because you're not only seeding moisture with your hyaluronic acid, but then you're also helping with that outer layer a little bit as well. So it's almost like, let's say, two products in one in itself. So, you know, hyaluronic acid is fantastic. It attracts 1,000 times its weight in water, but we like to layer it. So after you put the hyaluronic acid on, what's your favorite from The Ordinary range that you like putting on over the top?
So I like to use a squalane product, which essentially is the emollient. And why do I use squalane? Because it is probably the best emollient available, and it replicates our natural emollient produced by the oil in the body. In fact, we have another video talking about the difference between squalane and hyaluronic acid and the difference between the two and how they each hydrate the skin. So I put that on top of the hyaluronic acid, and I find that it's an excellent hydration and very consistently so as well. So
like you can get that from the Inky List as well as The Ordinary. The Ordinary actually have a great product, the Squalane Cleanser, which is great for compromised skin. So if you go back to step one and you want to have really dehydrated skin, maybe like psoriasis, eczema, the Squalane Cleanser is actually is a good product actually. The other ones that we like talking about is actually polyglutamic acid. And this you can get from the Inky List. And when we done our research, it actually attracts 10 times more water than hyaluronic acid. So it's even better than hyaluronic acid. It's like one of those unknown ingredients that are a must for like glass skin, because that's what you want to do in this outer layer, is attract as much water as possible. And polyglutamic acid can do that quite nicely.
Yeah, indeed. So now we've hydrated the skin, it comes to the level of protecting the skin from further damage. And what do we use for protection?
So you're going to obviously use UV. So you're going to use your SPF, minimum like 30, as we always talk about, that block 95% of UVA, UVB rays, as well as blue light as well, which is really important. And that's going to be also going to have some like hydration attached to it too as well, because you want a sunscreen that's going to be hydrated. And in the list below, we're going to put down some SPFs that are great for glass skin as well, because there's no point doing all these treatments, reducing your pigmentation, reducing your acne, reducing your rosacea, hydrating the skin, and then exposing yourself to the elements, and that dehydrating the skin and doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, you want everything to complement each other, essentially.
Absolutely.
So as part of that protection as well, getting rid of pigmentation, or at least reducing pigmentation, will help even out the skin tone and reduce, and in some cases eliminate pigmentation on the skin. So to achieve glass-like skin, you must have as even tone of the skin as you can. So whilst we've been addressing the texture of the skin, we must also address the tone of the skin. And not just from red blemishes or from lesions on the skin like acne, which can be treated separately, but we need to also reduce, prevent, and treat pigmentation as well.
Yeah, and you can use things like alpha-ibutene as ingredients to reduce the pigmentation. Glycolic acid for lighter skin types is good. Darker skin types, you can sometimes get more pigmentation. And definitely things like kojic acid work well, but you got to be careful whether it's actually legal within your country. But I would normally go for alpha-ibutene over things, just to kind of like brighten the skin and also help reduce pigmentation as well.
Indeed, and in some cases, obviously, a much more aggressive treatment, such as a chemical peel, which we've talked about in another video, so link below.
One controversy that we talk about with glass skin is one of the easiest ways to actually achieve it in a short-term basis is to use this product, which is a silicone primer, The Ordinary, and you'll see like it spreads like nothing you've ever spread before.
Shall I put it on my forehead?
Yeah. Well, you can see like how easy it is to spread. Now, as you guys watch my videos, silicones, in terms of like FDA, in terms of research, they say that it really is not non-comedogenic, but it does sometimes block pores.
So
and I'm not a fan of silicone. I know it spreads things really nicely and it makes products feel amazing, but A, it's bad for the environment. So, it's not bad, it's terrible for the environment. B, it can block pores for people that are acne prone, so I'd avoid using it for that. And C, sometimes there's some case reports of some sensitivities, which you have to be careful of. So I think this is a great short-term thing. Like after you've done your exfoliation, if you put the silicone primer on, actually,
it's quite good.
Yeah. Well, after you've done the exfoliation, and then you put the hydration, then you put the primer on. Then this is like, it will look amazing if you're going to be doing something on like TikTok or Instagram and you want to look incredible. You will achieve this short-term glass look when you're putting the silicone on, and it's great for layering with makeup, but just think of the world that we live in. I think it's really important that we keep an eye on this, and reducing silicone can be done really easily. You can substitute it with things like fatty acids, and there's some really cool things out there. So for example, in the skincare that we formulated, we didn't put any silicones in there and it still spreads beautifully. So I think that those are the steps. There are some like bonus steps that you're going to talk about in terms of lifestyle as well, right?
Yeah.
Because these are really important, because you can't just rely on skincare.
Yeah, most important is your skin will be more hydrated with hydration systemically. You need to make sure you're drinking enough water, and you need to make sure you're drinking enough water for yourself. Don't follow some rigid sort of guideline as to how much water you need.
Yeah.
You will know how much water you need. You'll know how hydrated you are based on how much you excrete, based on how much you sweat. So it depends on the individual, depends on you, depends on the environment you're in. Make sure you get enough sleep, because the skin will look healthier when you sleep longer. That's when you repair. Most of your cells are actually in the repair mode when you're sleeping.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also when you sleep more, you tend to, your behavioral aspects tend to change during the day. You tend to hydrate more, you tend to eat better. So with poor sleep, there is a correlation with poor diet and underhydration as well. So behavioral aspects will directly be influenced by that, which will directly influence the
I think that's a really good point. I think the last point about doing stuff in your sleep is really important. There are also some great oils that a lot of K-stars and stuff have been talking about. The rosehip seed oil from The Ordinary is one big one that a lot of celebrities use, as well as the cold pressed virgin marula oil. I actually like this one from The Ordinary because it's at such a good price point compared to the Drunk Elephant marula oil, which is marketed as like a luxury marula oil, but they're exactly the same thing, and it's at a great price point. So you can use this in the nighttime. You might not want to use it during the daytime, but you can, if you're going to be wanting glass skin, you can use this in your regime at the end instead of the SPF at nighttime, and it's a great substitute. Final bonus tip is that if you want to have glass skin, you should be doing some slugging, and we've actually shot a great video talking about absolutely everything in slugging, for every single type of skin type, as well as products that we recommend as well. And that's really important to do even once or twice a week, depending on how compromised your skin is. But if you have any questions about glass skin, of how to achieve it, also if you have any questions about products which you might think are good, put in the comments below. We will try and respond to absolutely everything. If you have any other ideas for videos that you wish us to talk about, just let us know in the link below. If you want to ask Dr. Solomon any questions, just ask him in the comments below and he'll be more than happy to respond.
So don't forget to like and most importantly subscribe to our channel.